Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Disney. Disney investor destroys Marvel for all women, all black films. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. From Variety, Disney foe Nelson Peltz questions woke Marvel films. Why do I have to have a Marvel movie that's all women? Why do I need an all-black cast? Reasonable questions. And Disney does not really have an answer. Disney has criticized Peltz, this is the billionaire investor, trying to get onto the board of Disney, and Bob Iger and Disney have no respect for Nelson Peltz. Disney slams activist investor Nelson Peltz as disruptive and destructive, says his proxy fight seems more about vanity than a belief in company. What do they mean by vanity? By vanity, they mean excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements, or the quality of being worthless or futile, such as the vanity of human wishes. I don't think wishes are futile. We should wish for things. But for Nelson Peltz, he'd like to see common sense things happen. He's a problem solver. He's made investments in and helped turn around other companies. He sees there's an opportunity with Disney. He's a self-made billionaire, and this is the kind of thing he does. He asks reasonable questions. It is reasonable to ask, why are you making movies based on pushing ideological agendas and trying to send messages when you're supposed to be making movies based on boys' characters for boys? It doesn't mean the character can't be black. It doesn't mean you can't have a female character. But it should all be done through the lens of trying to sell boys on the movies that you're making. Girls will like them as well. But the target audience for Marvel always was boys, ever since it was created and for decades after that. All the way up until Disney got ideological and decided we need to have female superhero films. We must do that at any expense, at any cost. So they took their Avengers franchise, which made billions of dollars, and they sandwiched in Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel made some money. Captain Marvel from 2019 made $1.1 billion. Okay, that's a lot of money. No doubt that's a profit. But just like all the diversity stuff that Disney does, it wasn't successful based on its own merit. They didn't earn this success. Captain Marvel was sandwiched between two Avengers movies. People were hysterical over the Avengers movies. They were dying to see them. Which two movies? Avengers Infinity War, which did $2 billion, and Avengers Endgame, which did $2.7 billion. And when you really consider that Captain Marvel was stuck in the middle of the two Avengers movies, she was in the Avengers story, you kind of had to see Captain Marvel if you wanted to keep up with all of the Avengers story that was going on between the two movies. It's really just a poorly performing Avengers movie. It did, around half, a little better than half, than the lower grossing Avengers Infinity War? Similarly with Black Panther 1 did $1.3 billion, but if he were never associated with the Avengers, would he have done that kind of business? No, he wouldn't have. So yes, you can do a female character-centered movie. Yes, you can do a black character, and you can have an all-black cast, but you can't lose sight of what the overall brand is all about. The overall brand is not about, I want to see myself as a superhero. The brand is about power fantasies for boys. That's what Marvel was about. That's what Marvel is about. That's why Disney bought the company. This is from Publishers Weekly going back to 2009 when they acquired the company. Marvel characters fill Disney's perpetual gap in boys' entertainment. Disney attracts girls in droves, and they're already a staple on the boy-centric Disney XD cable channel. They bought Marvel to get access to irreplaceable high-quality boy brands. And they threw it away. That's the issue that Nelson Peltz is talking about. I hope this gets a lot of attention because there's really no answer to why you would take a specific brand that's made for boys and try to turn it into something to push propaganda. There's no excuse for it. It makes no sense. From Variety, Disney foe Nelson Peltz questions woke Marvel films. Nelson Peltz, the activist investor agitating to win 2 Disney board seats, criticized the company's woke strategy, specifically questioning Marvel's Black Panther and The Marvels, which feature black and women leads respectively. The 81-year-old Peltz, who has admitted he never claimed to have experience in the media business, made the comments about The Marvels and Black Panther in a recent interview with the Financial Times. Quote, why do I have to have a Marvel movie that's all women? Peltz asks rhetorically. Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to do that? Why can't I have Marvels that are both? Why do I need an all-black cast? Black Panther does not have an all-black cast, nor does The Marvels have an all-female cast. Oh, come on. Black Panther is cast with and is specifically framed as black superhero in Africa in his own black kingdom with all black people. I mean, Black Panther does have a black cast. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but especially for the story. But what's terrible with Disney is they took the example of these related Avengers single hero films like Black Panther and like Captain Marvel, and they said, oh, those would work as a standalone property. It doesn't have to be that we have a boys property. It doesn't have to be that we have mainstream Marvel characters. We could just throw out series of films based on any character that we want. It doesn't matter what the movies are about. All we need to do is throw the Marvel brand on it and people will just get excited about it and buy it. There are some people in Marvel that knew that would never work. Ike Perlmutter, who agreed to sell Marvel to Disney, pushed back at the time and said, no, we should not be making movies that we don't think are going to work as toys. For whatever reason, if you make a female superhero and you can't explain how it's going to sell as a toy, that's a mistake. We shouldn't be doing it. Similarly, he didn't want to do Black Panther. I think doing Black Panther was probably okay. It did make money, but it's not just about making money. It's about making sure that nothing you promote is bigger than the brand. It was great that there was a lot of extra exposure and a few extra $100 million by having Black Panther so aggressively accepted worldwide. But Marvel was not careful to make sure that the Marvel brand was always bigger than whatever the character was that they were promoting. That's what you're supposed to do in a universe, is have some very careful understanding that no one character should be promoted as being bigger than your universe, or you break your brand. And that's what Marvel did. Black Panther, starring Chadwick Boseman, was a bona fide blockbuster, reaping $1.3 billion at the worldwide box office, while the 2023 The Marvels was a flop with a $206 million haul. Of course, the earlier Captain Marvel did well, but that was because it was a poorly performing Avengers movie. It didn't stand on its own, and once it had an opportunity to stand on its own, it completely failed. Iger, speaking last fall at the New York Times Dealbook Summit, acknowledged that Disney productions should focus on storytelling rather than advocating particular agendas. Well, creators lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be. We have to entertain first. It's not about messages, Iger said. On that point, Peltz said in the Financial Times interview, people go to watch a movie or a show to be entertained. They don't go to get a message. Disney has framed the proxy vote campaign by Peltz's Trian partners as driven by a long-standing personal agenda, harbored by former Marvel Entertainment chairman Ike Perlmutter against Iger. Trian controls roughly $3.5 billion worth of Disney stock, 79% of which is owned by Perlmutter. Last year, Disney fired Ike Perlmutter. In his 2019 memoir, The Ride of a Lifetime, Iger described the tensions that had built up between Feige and the New York office, which is Perlmutter's office, and he said this, quote, "We had a chance to make a great movie and to showcase an underrepresented segment of America, and those goals were not mutually exclusive. I called Ike and I told him to tell his team to stop putting up roadblocks and ordered that we put both Black Panther and Captain Marvel into production. And that was the beginning of the end of the Marvel brand." Peltz, asked during the Financial Times interview if Feige should be removed as president of Marvel Studios, replied, "I'm not ready to say that, but I question his record." And here's the article Variety's been talking about. From the Financial Times, investor Nelson Peltz, "I'm not trying to fire Bob Iger. I want to help him." And I think he's sincere. I think he's sincere that, look, he knows that Bob Iger is there. He'll stay probably until 2026. But he wants to see the company get organized and be focusing on making money, not pushing agendas. By focusing on the woke agenda over at Disney, there's really no way to hold executives accountable for what they're doing. There's no way to tell them, look, we need you to focus on making really commercially viable products. We want to be able to do a lot of licensing. How are you doing this week? How are you doing last month? Let's look at what you've been doing for the last 2 years. What questions can you really ask executives when the answer is, look, we're pushing an agenda. We know this is not necessarily something that people commercially want. We know we're going to limit our audience here, but we're trying to get the message out. Well, even though Bob Iger is saying, yeah, we've got to put entertainment first, we can't put messages first, that creates such disorganization and such a lack of focus in an organization with zero accountability up and down the line. If Peltz can get on the board of directors, and he was recently recommended by ISS, Institutional Shareholder Service, so he's got a good chance of getting on there. If he can get on there, he can get rid of a lot of this nonsense, even though it will take a couple of years. But for now, they really aren't focused on making money. It's not enough for Bob Iger to just come in and say, oh, let's stop focusing on message. Let's just focus on making great entertainment. The entire company has been polluted for years with this. It does take an outside set of hands to come in there and rip out the garbage and get people to focus again on producing things that everybody actually wants. Trian unveiled a $2.5 billion stake in Disney in January 2023, criticizing, among other things, the company's $71 billion acquisition of 21st Century Fox in 2017 that saddled it with debt, and the entertainment giant's languishing share price and shrinking margins. But Peltz called off the proxy fight a month later, applauding Iger's plan to cut costs and reinstate the dividend. However, after growing impatient with a lack of progress in November, much to Disney's consternation, Peltz revived his campaign for board seats. Peltz currently controls a $3.5 billion stake in Disney. Disney has said that Peltz has not presented a single strategic idea to the company during 2 years of campaigning for board seats. When the author brings this up, who was doing an interview with Peltz, Peltz launches into a critique of Disney's movie business, which even Iger admits has had a bumpy 2023. Quote, "They say we know nothing about the movie business. We don't claim we do, but I don't think that they do, with 5 big losers in a row. They've lost the first place in animation. They've lost the first place in features. Maybe it's time to change management in those divisions." Yes, it's time to ask those kinds of questions. And just because Peltz asks a question like, why do I need a Marvel movie that's all women? It's okay to ask that question. It's not against the law. They should have a damn good answer when a billionaire stockholder asks the company that question. He's allowed to ask, and they should have a good answer. Same thing with, why do I need an all-black cast? Oh, well, there weren't really all black people. Oh, come on. Black Panther was all black people, and that's fine. But it's okay to be able to ask the question. And when the board of directors is not asking the management of the company, why do we do this? Why are we making these kinds of movies? It can't just be a message from Bob Iger that says, oh, sorry, we have to get back to making good entertainment. We're going to stop messaging. No, that isn't really a direct answer. And then the follow-up question is, once we know what we should be doing, who are the right managers to do it? Is Feige the right guy if he let Marvel fall apart ever since the Avengers movies? Is Feige really the right guy? A lot of times you have the right guy in a position of power and management, and he takes a company just so far. But at the point where Feige ran out of the original Marvel characters and the story kind of came to an end, maybe he didn't have a vision to take it further where it needed to really actually go. And he just latched on to this ridiculous representation-focused character movies. And it's clear that wasn't the right thing to do with Marvel. So if you're going to keep the same management, they better have a better plan, and it better be different than what they've been doing before. And it's got to be very specific. That's what Peltz is talking about. There really is no difference between making movies or making cans or making food products. It's all the same thing. If you pick a strategy and you have a legitimate reason and you can back up why you think it's going to work and you do it and it works, fine. If it doesn't work, you've got to have a new strategy. And you have to be able to explain what went wrong last time. And you have to be able to make me believe, if I'm a multi-billion-dollar investor, that you're the right guy to even carry out that strategy, even if your new strategy does make sense. That's what Peltz is talking about. And Peltz is also really disappointed with their broken succession planning process. There is no reason that Disney should not have a better succession planning process to go from Bob Iger to their next permanent CEO. That's done at all public companies. However, the CEO is often setting strategy with the board. And the bottom line is Disney doesn't want to talk about strategy. They don't want to openly say, look, our strategy is to turn our entire company over into messaging to try to make the world population more the way we would like it to be. And that's all we're focused on. We're not interested in serving the world. We're actually interested in modifying and controlling the world with all of our intellectual properties and all of the assets of our shareholders. That's really what Disney's strategy is. They won't be honest with the board and say that, and they certainly won't be honest with Nelson Peltz and say that, but now you can understand why Bob Iger doesn't want Nelson Peltz on the board, because Nelson Peltz will ask these questions saying, come on, really, what is your strategy? Stop telling me I'm not qualified to ask you legitimate questions. Why are we no longer making movies focused on the kind of brand that Marvel was when it started? Where did we go wrong? Whose fault is it? Why haven't we fired that person? And whoever replaces them, are we going to make sure they won't make the same mistake? Nelson Peltz has been around a lot of people and a lot of executives over the years. He knows when companies are fooling around. He knows when they're serious and they're not serious. And he knows when they're trying to hide something. He's well aware of what Disney's trying to hide, their strategy. And when he gets on their board of directors, or if he doesn't get on the board of directors, and makes even more public negative statements about Disney, which is also very possible, hopefully he'll focus on doing more of this criticism of the woke stuff because the woke stuff is really what shows that Disney's strategy is disconnected from legitimate business. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.